Hi, my name is Crystal Sun, and I'm from Civis Analytics. We're a company that specializes in data science and research insights to help organizations do better data-driven outreach. Over the last couple of months, we've been conducting a substantial amount of research and testing to help understand populations that are either on the fence or against COVID-19 vaccination. We've seen a lot of change in the data. Attitudes towards vaccination have changed a lot since last fall of 2020. But as of right now, about 56% of Americans who are still not vaccinated have said that they're either uncertain or they're completely against getting vaccinated for COVID. To help the clients that we work with, as well as yourselves, understand the best ways to reach these populations through key messaging and the messages not to use, we conducted a message test where we set up a randomized controlled trial in which we tested 6 different types of messages. Each of these messages had a core similar theme, encouraging vaccination, but the justification and the additional support for why was different. The first message we tested was called Back to Normal, and it talked about how getting vaccinated helps you get back to the activities that you were doing pre-pandemic. The second was called Safety, and that attempted to educate people about the lengthy, extensive safety approval process and give some comfort around that. The third was called Scary Stats, and that talked about some of the very scary statistics associated with contracting and recovering from COVID-19. The fourth was called Personal Story, and that was a story, a narrative about an individual healthy person who contracted COVID-19 and has had some long-term effects since. The fifth story was called Patriotism, and that talked about how vaccination is an example of American ingenuity and getting vaccinated is an expression of your American liberty. And then the last message that we tested was called Personal Decision, and that talked about getting access to information that you need, talking to trusted messengers, and ultimately making the right decision for yourself. What we found is that 2 of these messages were particularly effective, and all of the other ones were ineffective or they led to negative backlash. Negative backlash is a term that we use that refers to the probability that somebody is less likely to get vaccinated because they've seen your message. The 2 most persuasive messages were Back to Normal and Personal Decision. What we also found is that emphasizing things like scary statistics, using fear-based messaging, and messages about patriotism don't seem to be effective at all. So some of this is a lot of overlap from previous tests that we've run, which we're glad to see that confirmed. What we found across many of the message tests that we've done is that talking about vaccination and how it gets our lives back to gets us back to being able to do things like go to school, go to work, go to coffee shops, go to church. That is very persuasive. Also encouraging people to inform themselves and guiding them to make their own decision. That seems to be effective as well. And then last of all, talking about the effectiveness of the vaccine itself in a very straightforward way, without dwelling too much on the scientific statistics. That seems to be persuasive too. What messages don't seem to work, according to our tests, include leading with messages about how safe the vaccines are, which is kind of counterintuitive because all surveys asking about barriers and attitudes toward vaccines and asking about concerns will indicate that people are very concerned about safety and side effects, and they are. But what we find is that leading with these types of messages is not very persuasive. We also find that messages about getting vaccinated because it helps protect others in the community are not as effective as emphasizing the personal benefit. And then last of all, scare tactics, like I mentioned before, and fear-based messaging seem to lead to a lot of negative backlash. So as healthcare providers, you are a trusted messenger of critical information that could persuade people who are on the fence or against vaccination. We find that physicians and other healthcare providers are amongst the most trusted messengers of this critical information. So thank you for all you do. If you'd like to have information, more details on the study, any of these results, or any of the research that we have planned on deck, please feel free to reach out to us at Civis. Thanks.